You won't believe why João Pedro chose Chelsea over Newcastle. This decision shook the market, left the Magpies with their hands tied, and got the fans asking, what if it had been us? Stick with me until the end and you'll understand everything, every detail of this saga. I'm Rodrigo, and you're watching Newcastle Mania, the channel made by a fan, for fans passionate about Newcastle United. You blinked, and suddenly Newcastle was headline news everywhere. But before we get to the main bombshell, let's take a look at some other important news that also shook the day for the Magpies. But first, just a quick word. Remember those Chelsea fans who said this channel wouldn't grow because our fan base is too small? Well, they're starting to stay quiet because our numbers are growing. So, we keep pushing. If you love Newcastle and want to shut them up once and for all, hit that subscribe button right now. It costs nothing, but it sends a message. Let's reach 1,000 subscribers together and show them what the Black and White Army is all about. Now, the news that will make you think, what did Newcastle miss out on with João Pedro? Why did he say no to our club and choose Chelsea instead? Let's break down every detail of this decision. João Pedro, the 23-year-old Brazilian striker, has opened up about his controversial choice and revealed what really influenced his decision. He admitted he missed London while at Brighton, a feeling he says was decisive in his transfer. He made it clear that Newcastle United was very interested. The Magpies came in strong even before Alexander Isak announced his move to Liverpool. There was even talk that Pedro could be the perfect replacement for the Swede, someone to take the spotlight in Newcastle's attack and maintain the team's offensive quality. But the story changed when Chelsea entered the picture. Pedro explained to the Evening Standard what motivated him to opt for the Blues. When I was at Brighton, I felt a bit homesick for London. I had the chance to move to another club, but I chose Chelsea because it's in London. It's a big club, and I knew it was a right choice. This statement shows more than just a geographical preference. It reflects a player's ambition to be at a club with international visibility, competing in the Champions League, and offering a platform to grow in European football. Pedro didn't just pick money or a contract. He chose a project, a city, status, and the opportunity to play at the highest level. For Newcastle, it's a mix of frustration and understanding. Frustration at losing a target who could have been decisive in attack, but understanding that in modern football, talented players often seek more than just a salary. They want the right stage to showcase their value. João Pedro didn't just reject the Magpies. He chose a path he believes is best for his long-term career. The reaction to João Pedro's decision was immediate and widespread across the press and social media. British media headlines highlighted the Brazilian striker's preference for Chelsea over Newcastle United, reinforcing the idea that the Magpies lost an important target who could have strengthened the attack after Alexander Isak's departure. Some outlets called it a blow for Newcastle or an unexpected no, underlining the market surprise of the player's choice. On social media, Toon fans were quick to react, with opinions divided. Many understood Pedro's decision, recognizing that playing at Chelsea, in London, with a chance to compete in the Champions League, is a massive step for any young talent. Comments like he chose the right project, and you can't blame him for seeking visibility spread across Twitter and Instagram. On the other hand, there was also frustration and even anger. Some fans criticized Newcastle's board, questioning whether the team did enough to convince the striker to wear the black and white shirt. Remarks like, another gem slips through our fingers, or when will we finally keep our talents, illustrated the sense of loss many supporters felt. Moreover, Pedro's choice reignited the debate about the PSR and Newcastle's ability to compete with clubs that have more financial leeway. The case also prompted comparisons with other frustrated transfers and raised questions about the club's strategy in the transfer window. Is it better to wait for more viable opportunities or risk big moves that may not pay off? In the end, the reaction shows that João Pedro's decision is far more than just another transfer. It stays the fans' passion, sparks debate about club management, and highlights the challenges Newcastle faces in establishing themselves among the Premier League's elite. What happens behind the scenes often explains decisions that might seem surprising at first glance. In the case of João Pedro, this story goes far beyond just a transfer fee. Newcastle returned to the negotiating table in June with a £50 million offer, showing that the club was genuinely interested and willing to spend big to strengthen the attack. But Chelsea stepped in with full force and, according to reports, spent around £60 million to secure the player. But it's not just about the numbers. Behind the scenes, João Pedro made his decision based on personal ambition and his career vision. He wasn't just looking for a big contract or financial gain. He wanted a project that would put him on the European stage, with Champions League exposure and the chance to compete against the best forwards in England and across the continent. London also played an important role for him. It's the city where he feels comfortable, where he wants to live and build the next stage of his elite career. At Newcastle, this situation likely caused frustration, but it also serves as a strategic lesson. Even with a huge sum on the table, the Magpies realize that money alone isn't enough to attract certain talents. You need to offer a convincing project, high-level competition opportunities, and show that the club can help players achieve their personal goals. Moreover, this negotiation highlights the growing competitiveness among Premier League clubs and the importance of acting quickly. While Newcastle had genuine interest, Chelsea had the structure, a recent track record of impactful signings, and the ability to align the players' ambitions with their short-term goals. That combination ultimately proved decisive in João Pedro's choice. In short, behind the scenes, we see that in modern football, money is only part of the game. Ambition, sporting project, and alignment of expectations are just as important, and in this case, they made the difference between Newcastle losing or securing the Brazilian forward. João Pedro is no ordinary striker. He's 23, quick, clinical in front of goal, and has excellent vision. He's a player projecting himself to compete for the Golden Boot, and even dreams of the Ballon d'Or in the future. He himself said, "The big clubs in England brought the best forward from Europe this summer. It will be interesting to compete with them for the Golden Boot." Look, this reminds us of other promising Newcastle youngsters. Often, talented players need to seek bigger clubs to shine, as we've seen before, and that doesn't mean Newcastle isn't competitive. But Chelsea offers structure, Champions League football, and global visibility. For Newcastle, it's clear that the priority now is to find alternatives. Hugo Ekitike, Nick Woltemade, and João have already been brought in to strengthen the attack after Isaac's departure. But this rejection shows that sometimes money and interest alone aren't enough. The player wants more: the project, the city, and the Champions League. For us fans, it's a mix of frustration and learning. Frustration at losing a key target, but also a lesson about the market and what motivates players to choose certain clubs. Newcastle must remain alert, aggressive, and strategic in future transfer windows. And you, fan, do you think Newcastle could have done something different to convince João Pedro? Or was Chelsea always the inevitable choice? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to strengthen the Black and White Army. Here at Newcastle Mania, every story is treated with passion and respect for our history. Thanks for watching, and get ready, because the transfer market still has surprises in store.